Good morning, everybody. And how are we doing today? It is Monday morning, the 20th of March. Morning, Ramen. How you doing today, darling? It's the 20th of March, and have y'all got your taxes done? You've got less than a month. Get them finished up, people, or be a bad person. Yeah, the IRS doesn't like it when we don't get our taxes filed on time. They really don't like us when we don't pay our taxes on time. So y'all get your acts together, okay? And yes, I'm even talking to myself. Oh, what a weekend this has been. So full of news. Man, oh man. And yeah, I'm going to say this here at the beginning of the stream. This is as far as I'm going. Sometime today or tomorrow, we expect New York to the New York's DA to do as he would do to a ham sandwich and indict that bad person, Donald Trump. Indict him on felony charges, which was a misdemeanor charge, which nobody else at the federal or state level wanted to bring charges on. But this little DA who paid by that bad man, George Soros, and I do mean bad man in this case. I'm not being sarcastic about that one. Yeah. Um, who has reduced felonies to misdemeanors all over the place, raised a misdemeanor to a felony here. So all I'm going to say is what I said in my tweet. We can all disagree with this. Do not go and protest. Don't do it. We've seen what happened with January 6th and how that was called in as, the verbiage used by the left-wing media. Believe me, they've already gone through the thesaurus and they've come up with every word that they can use to make it to, the same people who said mostly peaceful as buildings were on fire around them, talking about left-wing protests and calling them mostly peaceful, they've gone through the thesaurus to find every word with a negative connotation they could find to describe anyone, any group, and any event that comes out in support of Trump. So, as much as I hate to say it, remember, people, conservatives are not treated the same by the media as the left wings are, as progressives are, as communists and socialists are. Conservatives, Republicans, constitutionalists, we are not treated the same. So don't go out there expecting to get any kind of um, honest treatment by the media anywhere. And I'm even talking about your local media in Podunk, Missouri. All right. So stay at home. Shout at your TV screens. Shout it on the internet. Don't make any threats. Shout at the media. Write letters properly worded. Be very careful in your wording. Okay. But don't go out and do it in public. Fly your flag from your house, support Trump as you can, as you are want to. If you want to support the man, call out what you think is injustice here. But just be aware, whatever you do, the media is going to twist it and turn it to make you look like a bad person. All right. So don't don't do anything here that's going to hurt you. Don't do anything that's going to cause more damage than what the media already does. Don't feed the trolls. All right? Don't feed the trolls. That's all I can say to you. And that is my 2 minute, 3 minute, however long it lasted, that I'm going to say about this for now. All right? Just be careful out there, folks. Okay? Now I'm going to start this off with the video. It has to be an old video. It absolutely has to be, because I cannot imagine this being done recently. And it's a video I've never seen before. It gotten hidden. It had to have been hidden. So, y'all, it's 2 minutes long. I'm going to share it out here. We'll take a break in it on occasion because I think this is funny. Okay, let's see here.
People in America are not settled with the information that's been given to us right now. So I'm not.
If one for the fact you saw Fauci standing there, that could be said about any time at any place when we're talking about what information the government and the media is given to us about anything. All right. We don't trust them anymore to be honest with us about what's going on.
Not going to be lining up taking a shot or a vaccination for something that wasn't clear in the first place. And then you all create a shot in miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccination.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay, it used to.
You know how many years were invested in this approach? About 20 years of science to get us to be able to do it.
20 years is not enough. And 9 months is definitely not enough for nobody to be taking no vaccination that you all came up with.
The only reason I'm talking to you right now, as close as we are, is that I've been vaccinated.
Right.
Now, this was back when everybody was saying the official line was, once you're vaccinated, you can't get it. Once you're vaccinated, you can't spread it. Once you're vaccinated, you've got that globe of invulnerability about you. Remember, Get Smart, and they had their cone of silence. Well, that's what we have here. We got this cone of protection about you when you got your shot.
Right.
But if it allows thousands of people like you don't get vaccinated, you're going to let this virus continue to percolate in this country and in this world.
Something like the common flu then, right?
Yeah, something like the common flu.
It's much more serious than the flu.
Well, the flu kills a lot of people annually too.
You know how many people died of the flu the last year? I mean, not this year, virtually none, but the previous.
Yeah, nobody died of the regular flu that year. Remember that? Nobody died of the flu.
Previous year, about 20 to 30,000. You know how many people have died from COVID-19 in the United States? 600,000 Americans.
Well, the number that you
was that died of or died with?
You all giving that died. That's once again, that's you all's number.
You gonna pass?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Because when you start talking about paying people to get vaccinated, when you start talking about incentivizing things to get people vaccinated, it's something else going on with that. Something else. It's something else going on with that.
This man is expressing a lot of common sense back then. A lot of common sense. I don't know who he is. I don't know who he talked to or anything else. But this is a man off the street, out of the hood, who is expressing a lot of common sense.
Something going
Yeah.
on with
Something
it.
else
You're
going
right.
on.
But I'm glad millions of people like me and most everybody here didn't get an. You know what their incentive was? Protecting their health and protecting the city. But that's, I won't keep you anymore.
It's okay because
Thank you for- thank you for
my
chatting.
y'all campaign is about fear. It's about inciting fear in people. You all attack people with fear. That's what this pandemic is. It's a fear. It's fear, this pandemic. That's all it is.
Look at Fauci's face. He is not a happy man. He was just purely frustrated with that because it did not go the way he thought it should go. He was not happy with the way that went. But yep, that was a bad man standing there. That was a bad man who was standing there because he was not buying off on the incentive to get the shots. Oops, I don't want that up here. Why do I? How'd that get there? That's not a screen I wanted. Okay, Mr. Producer, you're falling down on the job. Falling down on the jobs. Okay. You know, like I was just saying, the media expresses viewpoints, issues, events the way they want to. They don't care about the truth. They're going to color it the way they want it to be colored. Okay? We're going to start off here with a news article from a obviously very biased source. Very, very biased. Okay? Library director fired after Kirk Cameron and Riley Gaines complain about him. Kirk Cameron is on a tour to save kids from wokeism and doesn't get why libraries won't host them. This article is from yesterday, March 19th, 2023. A library director at Tennessee's Henderson Public Library was fired after right-wing celebrities made a stink about not being treated well while promoting their children's books. So it's those evil right-wing celebrities. You know, they did it's their fault that this librarian was fired. The Sumner County Library Board voted 4-3 on Wednesday to fire Alan Morales after former child star Kirk Cameron. They are right. He is former child star, but he's a director of some very niche movies which have done very well within the audience range that the movies were directed to. Okay. Duck Dinosaur Missy Robertson and former swimmer Riley Gaines accused the library staff of being rude and unwelcoming during an event for Cameron's book tour, which also included reading of Robertson's book from the same publisher. Oh, I don't accept cookies from some websites. Well, good morning, Data. How you doing? Oh, still got a stuffy head, cold, and cough. Oh, that sucks. Sorry to hear that. The tour is meant to be a direct antithesis to the Drag Queen Story Hour events. Cameron told the Washington Examiner he was fighting this storm of wokeism that appears to be sweeping the nation and sucking the children into its vortex. And his goal is to take back the hearts and minds of our children. Well, I got to say, I agree with him. I agree with him with what's been going on in our public schools and our public libraries. That the whole mess here of what these places have been doing to our children, to our grandchildren, to our nieces and nephews, is abhorrent. It's horrible, and it needs to be fought against. Cameron, who supported former President Donald Trump in 2016, yep, got to throw that in there that he's one of them bad people that supported Donald Trump. Got to throw that in there. Made headlines in 2012 for anti-LGBTQ plus comments he made on CNN Piers Morgan Tonight. I think that it's unnatural, he said. I think it's detrimental and ultimately destructive to have so many of the foundations of civilization. Okay, that's sort of an incomplete quote, but as it be, again, this here's a very biased source, and of course they're going to do what they're going to do. Gaines, a special guest at the event, became an anti-trans far-right spokesman after tying with trans swimmer Leah Thomas during collegiate competition. Okay. And what happened? They gave the award to Leah Thomas specifically for the photo events that would happen. No other reason. They even admitted that. They told her that the trophy was going to be presented to Leah Thomas. Leah Thomas was going to go home with that trophy because they wanted the photo opportunities. Hey, good morning, Neil. Well, good luck with your deliveries. You be careful, all right, bud? Don't need you to be getting into no accidents. According to Robertson, the trouble at the library began while celebrities attempted to film promotional videos for Cameron's biblically themed children's book, As You Grow, as well as Robertson's book, Because You're My Family. So, remember what the complaint was up here. The library director at Henderson's Public Library was fired after right-wing celebrities made a stink about not being treated well. So what actually happened? I have to give this LBGTQNation.com credit for actually putting this next part in here. They're slamming books together, they're kicking cabinets, they're hollering out loud, Robertson said during a podcast interview. She also complained the library forced hundreds of parents and children to wait outside in the rain for the event to begin. Gaines told a similar story to the Daily Wire, and the publisher Brave Books named Morales specifically as one of the library leaders causing pushback. Brave Books, whose mission is to teach children to love God and country and to withstand harmful progressive influences. It's bad. That's a bad mission. You can't teach children to love God and their country. You can't teach children to withstand what's seen as harmful progressive influences. That's bad. That's the wrong thing to do. Had told Fox News Digital that the library staff had originally tried to cancel the event, but the library board stepped in. So Mr. Morales, as the head librarian here, was pissed off. He was mad. He was angry that these three people coming in to express views that he personally disagreed with was being allowed to do so because by the people who actually run this library, that he made people wait out in the rain for over an hour. Then he allowed other patrons to kick cabinets, slam books, and yell and scream while they're trying to do it. The heckler's veto makes so much noise that people can't do what they're there to do. It's always amazing. It's always amazing that this happens, that the left is allowed to have this heckler's veto and nothing is done about it. It's held up as praiseworthy. It's held up as, standing up for your views. It's allowed to happen. Like when that judge went to Stanford University and the students were allowed to stand up and berate him. When an instructor stood there and to his face said, "We're going to be nice enough to let you have your views, as bad as they are, as evil as they are. And we're hoping that we will convince you of how bad you are and how wrong you are in what you believe." Told this to a sitting judge when he was there to give a class, a speech. And the teacher, this college professor, and the students were praised for their actions. The heckler's veto. But don't try to do that as a conservative. Morning there, Badger. How you doing today? Cameron had previously complained that more than 50 public libraries told Brave Books they were not interested in hosting his events. The Rochebow Public Library in Providence, Rhode Island, reportedly told the publisher, "We are a very queer-friendly library. Our messaging does not align." Speaking to Fox News, Cameron and his publisher blasted libraries for hosting LGBTQ plus programs, but not his readings. So, again, public libraries pushing one side of the political fence and silencing the other side. Your tax dollars are used to support these public libraries. And these public libraries are using their personal political beliefs as to what is going to be hosted and allowed to go on inside the libraries. But we're the bad people for saying, hey, if you're going to allow the LGBTQ and the drag queens and everybody else to get in there and do public events, then you have to let our side get in there to do public events also. But we're the wrong bad people for saying that. As Bibles are literally being removed from schools and libraries, as Christianity, faith, and Ten Commandments are taken out of schools and replaced with toxic ideas like transgenderism, CRT, 1619 Project, I'm looking to fight backhammer instead. Right-wing coverage of the library staff's alleged mishandling of Cameron's event reportedly led to the library receiving multiple threats, including a bomb threat. All right, people, never. Don't threaten people. Don't threaten to blow things up. Don't threaten to destroy things. Call the libraries, call these publicly funded institutions like libraries. Express your displeasure. Tell them they're violating the law. Tell them what they're doing wrong, but don't make threats of violence. All that does is give credence to the idea that we're violent people. Now, are librarians going to say they got a bomb threat, whether or not they actually did? Yeah, they are. They're going to say it anyway. But don't do it. Don't do it. Henderson Mayor Jamie Clary defended the staff, writing on Facebook, the library staff has been vilified unfairly. Fox News, a national outlet with nobody in Henderson this past week, took comment from the publishing company that was terribly inaccurate. Fox News, CBS, CNN, NBC, ABC, MSNBC, they take stories from stringers all the time. They can't afford these news outlets. No news outlet can afford to have anybody, have a person in every town, every city, every village in the country. It's called stringers. Oh, morning, JoJo. How you doing today? And Badger, you're exactly right. Any day I wake up above the dirt is better than the alternative. Starts off as a good day. This has literally divided a community. It has, branded the library team in ways that only told one side of the story. Well, got a question. Did Morales allow the hecklers to do what they're doing? Did he allow them to slam books, kick cabinets, and yell and scream? That's a yes or no answer. Did he allow it or didn't he? Did he force people to wait out in the rain for an hour? Did he force people to wait out in the rain for over an hour prior to the event starting? Did he or didn't? Yes or no? There is no, well, that's not what I meant. That's not what did it happen or didn't it? Okay. That you're trying to gray area this when there is no gray area. It's a yes or no answer. Okay. There is no other side of the story. Did it happen or didn't it? If it didn't happen, and Brave Books, Kirk Cameron, Robertson, and Gaines are all lying, then show us that they're lying. Tell us they're lying. Tell us that none of that happened, that nobody was forced to wait out in the rain. Tell us that nobody was out there kicking cabinets, slamming books, and yelling and screaming while they're attempting to host their event. It's either or. Either it happened or it didn't. But like I said, I've got to give LGBTQ Nation credit for actually posting the rest of that story. Posting the other side. What their terminology, everything else. Okay, yeah. There's that. They painted the story as much as they could. All right. Using, right wing and everything else. But at least they try, they pretty, give them credit for attempting to fairly present the story. But teachers and librarian staffs are making news in what they're doing and what they've been passing out and what they've been allowing to happen inside the schools, inside the libraries. Here's another teacher. And these are happening in schools that you would never expect. At least I'm surprised that's this, if it comes out in New York, especially New York City, LA, San Francisco, okay, it is what it is. That's what's going to happen there. But here's one from out Minneapolis, and this doesn't really surprise me. Anti-capitalist teacher promotes anarchy, loves when students have no respect for authority. Now, these kind of teachers, what are they doing teaching? Why is a teacher like this allowed to be in a classroom? A Minneapolis science teacher who recommends teachers include anti-capitalist materials in their classrooms praised the idea of having no respect for authority. The teacher at Highland Park Middle School, Mandy Young, frequently posts videos on TikTok espousing anti-capitalist and anarchist philosophies. What she posts in her off-duty time away from the school, it is what it is. I'm not going to attempt to control what no one should attempt to control what a teacher does in their off-duty time away from the school, away from the students. No, as much as they shouldn't attempt to control what I do when I'm off work. I am not saying that anybody should be having their off-duty time controlled by the schools. That shouldn't happen. As long as it's kept away from her students. Now, if she is directing her students to her videos during class time, now that is a different story. Anarchism is skeptical of all justifications for authority and seeks to abolish systems like capitalism, which it claims maintain unnecessary coercion and hierarchy. It doesn't matter what kind of society you live in, there's going to be a hierarchy. There's going to be coercion. You know, you conform to your society's rules, both written and unwritten, or you're punished. So, yeah, there is coercion. And it doesn't matter what, you can call your society whatever you want. And there's going to be rules to live within that society. And I'm including living in your house. The people a family unit, the mother and father make the rules for their house. They're not going to let their children do whatever and whenever they want. They may let their kids run wild outside the house, but they're not going to let them run around punching holes in their house. They may let their kids try on the walls, but they're not going to let them kick out walls and destroy the place. So there's going to be rules, regardless of how lax they are. There's going to be rules in every society, and there's going to be a hierarchy. There's going to be somebody who makes the rules and somebody who enforces those rules. So there is no, now the only way you can have complete and total anarchy is if you live in by yourself. And then you still have your own rules that you live by. Young also said she identifies with the industrial workers of the world, an ideological union with ties to socialism and anarchy. Yeah, they're socialists. They're a communistic union. My students this year have no respect for authority, the St. Paul district teacher said. And I love that in a person because I have no respect for authority. But it's been a frustrating year because I am the authority. So I'm like, damn the man, but I am the man. Yep. And here's that teacher. Young recommends bringing in anti-capitalistic messages into the classroom, such as a Marxist political cartoon, which stated, capitalism, we rule you, we fool you, we shoot at you, we eat for you. Regarding the purpose of education, Young believes it's not only to prepare students to enter the workforce, but to learn about nature. The science teacher added the classic cell biology lessons are part of capitalistic indoctrination. 7th grade science is the year you learn that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell and all the cell biology. At the end of the union, I have the students take a test. One of the questions is, a person says the nucleus is the most important organelle in this cell. Do you agree or disagree, and why? Almost every student says, yes, I agree, because without a boss, the cell would be in total chaos. The student's response cracks me up. I want to claim that microscopic bacteria are the original anarchists. Teacher previously admitted to providing gender identity survey to students. Okay. The district released a statement to Fox News Digital, which said, as a general rule, public employees as citizens have the right to personally comment on matters of public importance without restriction or reprisal by their employer. And I fully agree with that, as long as they're doing it in their personal life. Okay, much like when I was active duty military, I could not make any comments about anything political when I was active duty, especially if I was in uniform. Couldn't do it. Because regardless of anything you said, you know, what I'm saying is me as an individual, yada yada yada, not reflective upon the United States Air Force or the Biden or the at the time the Clinton administration, yada yada yada. None of that mattered. Because if you were in uniform, you weren't allowed to say anything. Yeah, Badger, how is a socialist anarchist supposed to work? Well, Neil, according to her, pee all over her stuff. I've got no problems with people. I've said that before. What they do in their personal time is what they do on their personal time. Who they endorse, anything else, what they believe, as long as they don't bring it into the classroom, it's fine. All right. And when I mean bring it into the classroom, I'm talking about espousing it in any way, shape, and or form. Okay. You don't come in as a Christian. I don't go into a classroom and start teaching the Bible. A Muslim doesn't go in and start teaching the Quran. A socialist doesn't go in and start teaching socialism. An anarchist doesn't go in and start teaching anarchy as part of their classroom instruction. You can teach about this subject, but you don't endorse that subject. So yes, you can teach about it, but you can't teach for it. Bad teachers, bad teachers. All right, let's see what's next here. Oh, hypocrisy comes to rule. I love it when people what they've said in the past come back and bite them on the ass. Things they've wanted, things they've pushed for, things that they've endorsed comes back and just zaps them in the butt. They get stuck with it. And sadly, though, a lot of times, you know, when it doesn't work out that way, they don't learn the lesson. They're not taught their lessons. San Francisco supervisor Hillary Ronan. You don't know how many times I want to say Hillary Rodham here when I first read this article. God. San Francisco supervisor Hillary Rodham begs for more police after voting to defund in 2020. A San Francisco district supervisor is calling for more policing in the crime-ridden city despite advocating to defund the police in 2020. Hillary Ronan, a Democrat, surprise, surprise, represents District 9 on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. During a Budget and Appropriations Committee hearing on Wednesday, she made an impassioned plea to add more officers to the Mission District, which she represents. Ronan was attacking the San Francisco's police chief for spending a lot of money overtime on anti-retail theft program instead of prioritizing police presence in her district. Well, she didn't want police in her district. She wants less police. Well, give her what she wants, less police. The people that voted for her evidently want less police. She's still in office after 2 years. So the people are getting what their representative, what the people they voted for wanted. Now, if the people want more police in their district, then they need to vote for a representative that is willing to stand up and say, yes, we need more police. We need to fund more police, not defund to get less police. Exactly, Badger. How can we bring in this great thing of socialism if we don't start indoctrinating the children? Like that one guy, Project Veritas, nabbed last year, I've got 180 days. 180 days to convert the children. I know that wasn't exactly what he said. Let's see if I can find that direct quote. That direct quote needs to hang around. I need to do something with that direct quote. No, I can't find it right now. That's a shame. But yeah. But anyway, it was yeah, that's it. There we go. I've got 180 days to turn the children. I've got 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries. That's the direct quote. So yeah. Anyway, Ronan was attacking San Francisco's. Okay, here we go. I've been begging this department to give the mission what it deserves in terms of police presence all year long. And I've been told time and time again, time and time and time and time and time again, there are no officers we can send to the mission. That's right, because you voted to defund them. You said you didn't want more police in your mission, so we moved them to other areas. Now we don't have any officers left. There she is, standing up there complaining about, off the other side of her mouth about how she wants more police after she said she wanted less. She got what she wants. It hurts, and I feel betrayed by the department. I feel betrayed by the mayor. I feel betrayed by the priorities of the city. No, you got what you asked for. You said you wanted less police. You voted to defund the police. The speech contradicts her stance on policing in 2020. After the George Floyd protest, Ronan tweeted that she believes strongly that San Francisco's police force needed to be reduced. I want to make it clear that I believe strongly in defunding the police and reducing the number of officers on our force. For decades, we've had an imbalance in our city's budgets, with hundreds of millions of dollars going to the San Francisco Police Department to have them do work they're not qualified to do. Well, you got what you wanted. You got less police. And until the people vote you out of office and vote in somebody who actually wants more police, you get what they get. Now, have you come out, Ms. Ronan, and actually said you were wrong in what you texted and what you previously stated less than 2 years ago? Have you come out and said that? Or 3 years ago now? Have you come out and said I was wrong? Hey, I was wrong. I've learned. I've grown. Have you used that I've grown speech? And I apologize to the people I've hurt. Have you used that speech yet that you on the left have demanded so many other people give? Have you given that speech yet? Because until you give that speech, you're screwed. Your people, they don't get the police until either you give that speech or you get voted out of office. In 2020, Mayor Landon Breed directed $120 million from law enforcement to fund other city initiatives. Crime in San Francisco continued to worsen, with homicides increasing by 20%. Homicides also increased to 17% in 2021. So it's up 37% in 2 years. By December 2021, Breed had made an emergency request to the Board of Supervisors to add more funds to the city's police department. The San Francisco Police Department has struggled with a lack of staffing the past few years. In February's officers responded to burglary over 15 hours after the 911 call was made. 15 hours for a burglary. Well, I mean, it's an event that had already happened. Nobody's life was in danger. Hey, like the old saying, when the seconds count, the cops are only minutes to hours away. While the San Francisco Police Department is short-staffed and our response times have been negatively impacted as a result, a response time of over 12 hours for a call of this nature falls far short of the department's and public's expectations. Yeah, well, when you take $120 million away from the police department, you're not going to have the number of police you need. Our murder rates here in our local area are actually down, but then the gun ownership rate is up. I wonder if there's a corollary to be said there. But anyway, as it is. Bad people, bad schools, bad teachers, bad politicians. Got a lot of bad going on out there. Now, here's something that I argued against for years, and you've heard me argue about them. Sanctuary cities and states. Now, the left just loves sanctuary cities and states. Sanctuary policies are those followed by towns, cities, counties, and states and other jurisdictions that restrict most forms of cooperation with federal immigration authorities. How about, let's just say, federal authorities? While jurisdictions are not compelled by federal laws to participate in federal enforcement activities, federal law prohibits them from actively obstructing enforcement of federal law. In addition, sanctuary policies may violate the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution and the 10th Amendment. Most importantly, sanctuary policies place the public at risk by preventing federal authorities from locating, arresting, prosecuting criminals. The result is all residents, including legal residents, are in danger of being victimized, even killed by illegal criminals who benefit from protections afforded by the sanctuary policies. All right, so there's a broaden, because I left out a few words there, because this is primarily talking about sanctuary cities and states dealing with illegal immigrants. But the left loves them. The media loves them. You don't see the media speaking out against sanctuary cities and states. In fact, they love them. They embrace them. They embrace them to the point that they even embrace the idea of allowing non-citizens, including those who are in the country illegally, to vote in elections. Because why? Because they live here too. Even though they're not supposed to be in the country, they live here too. So the newspapers and the left love it when cities and states and counties tell the federal government to go pound sand. We don't care what your laws are. We're not going to enforce them. And we're even better, we're not going to help you enforce them. And I mean, none of these states should be a surprise. California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, and even the District of Columbia. All right. These are all cities or states that have told the federal government to go pound sand. When it comes to enforcing of federal laws that they don't like. Well, though they have a different opinion though when it comes to some other laws. They really do. Because with the Biden administration and the current ATF, a lot of gun laws and rules and regulations are coming into being. A lot of them, and they're fighting against the Supreme Court. They're trying to find every little niche and corner they can, every little gap in a Supreme Court ruling that they can, to allow them to restrict our rights to own firearms. It's like the current pistol brace controversy. And we all know, okay, and y'all know I have been against these ABC departments, and I don't care who they are, of creating rules that have the effect of law, including fines and imprisonment. Anything like that should be going through the legislative process, go through the Congress, signed into law by either the president or the governor. All right. I don't believe that the IRS, I don't believe the ATF, I don't believe OSHA, I don't believe any of these organizations should have the ability to create new rules without it going through Congress in and of their own, especially when they involved sending people to prison or the taking of personal property. They should only be able to enforce laws that are on the books. End of conversation. And how does something become a law? By going through the legislative process. We all know that. This is junior high school government civics classes. This is junior high school stuff. At worst, this is junior high school. I mean, yes, I'm a Bill. I'm only a Bill sitting here on Capitol Hill. I mean, come on. Schoolhouse Rock on Saturday morning. This was, elementary school kids were learning about this. And that's as close as y'all going to get to hearing me to sing. So we all know how it's supposed to happen. Why we allow it to happen any other way is beyond me. Yeah. Neil, and you're right, and it happens on both sides of the aisle. It's just for some reason, when the left, let's just use immigration. Obama decides that he's not going to deport. He signs an executive order, DACA, creating DACA out thin air. DACA exists. And the spineless, nutless Republicans don't take him to court over it. But DACA exists. Trump comes along and tries to go, DACA don't exist. And what happens? Courts step in. Nope, you can't do that. Well, I mean, logic, if it's created by the stroke of a pen, it should be able to be wiped out existence by the stroke of a pen because it was not done legislatively. If it was not created legislatively, it should be able to be destroyed the same way it was created, with a piece of paper and a stroke of a pen. Whoop. I hit the wrong tab and just blasted my own eardrums listening to myself talk. Okay, here we go. Kentucky bill nullifying federal gun laws head to the governor's desk. A bill to make it more difficult for police to enforce federal gun laws and in some cases criminally penalize them now heads to Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear's desk. Kentucky lawmakers have secured enough votes to override a veto of House Bill 153, which bans state and local law enforcement and other public officials from enforcing federal firearms regulations enacted after January 1st, 2021. Kathy Hobart, a volunteer for Kentucky Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, said she's concerned the measure could hamper efforts to protect communities from rising levels of gun violence. What we know is that more guns that are in circulation, the more likely they are to be stolen, the more likely they are to get in the hands of people that have no business having these guns, like children and criminals. Criminals are going to get their hands on guns regardless. And having more guns in the population's hands is a good thing. That means people are able to protect themselves. People, my opinion, take it or leave it, my opinion, you are your own first responder. If you can't defend yourself, then short of carrying a cop on your back, who are you going to have defend you at 2:00 in the morning? Who are you going to have defend you when you're sitting at a red light? I used to carry in the small of my back. Little personal story. Used to carry in the small of my back. I was sitting at a red light. Now, the whole story. Had a guy driving 40 and about 40, 30, somewhere between 35 and 40 in a 45 zone in the left hand lane. I finally got around him, and as I was passing him, I honked my horn and flipped him off. Gave him the boydy, the one finger salute. I get up to the next light, and next thing I know, I got him beating on the passenger side window. Now, my vehicle did not have air conditioning. So I had the windows all cracked a bit, that 4x60 AC that I grew up with. I don't know if anybody, you got to be of a certain age to understand 4x60 AC. That's four windows down, 60 miles an hour. And next thing I know, he's yelling and screaming about me flipping him off. I flip him off again. He reaches up and shatters out my window. He grabs hold of my passenger side window, yanks on it hard enough and yanks and pushes on it, and that window shatters. And he reaches in, and I'm one of these guys. I drive with my, I had my right arm sitting over there to the side. He was on the passenger side. And he grabbed my right arm and started yanking on me. So I could not get to my gun because it was set up for a right hand draw in my back. Well, long story short, he finally leaves. I call the police. A couple of people pull over with me. They give a description of him along with car, license plate number. Cops don't do anything about it. The cops did zero about it. Okay, fine. When I went up to find out what was going on, and the cop said, well, yada, 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 you got your window fixed, damage is under $500, there's nothing we can do about it. I said, fine. Next time you won't have to worry about trying to track him down or anything else. You'll just take his body off because I'll shoot his ass. And I started carrying my gun differently. And I also started carrying a couple of knives in my truck. Knives that I got no problem sinking into somebody's arm or other body part and letting go and let them having that. If I need to let go, I can, and I'm not going to worry about, because the removal of that knife will be more damaging than leaving it in. Cops were absolutely worthless for me. They weren't there. They weren't there when he assaulted me in the middle of the road. And then even afterwards, they were absolutely worthless. They didn't even go out and arrest the guy. I couldn't even get the guy's name so I could sue him for the money I had to pay out, the $450 I had to pay out for the new window in my truck. And yes, I had to pay it because I've got a $500 deductible, and it came out to $450. So couldn't even file an insurance claim on it. No, McDaddy, I'm down here in the freedom state of Florida. So yeah. cops, they're worthless. There's a lot of times having cops around is worthless because regardless of they're never there exactly when you need them. Okay, so let me get that out there. You're not, you are the person that you need to be. You are the person that's going to be your own first offender. All right. Now, this is the part I love. Hobart added it's not up to the states to decide which federal laws they are going to enforce. Really? I've never seen you, Miss Hobart, come out. I'd love to know your position on immigration, sanctuary cities and states. You know, I'd love to know your position on marijuana. Should states be able to legalize marijuana even though the federal government's got it illegal? There's a lot of positions, a lot of federal laws which states ignore. And the left doesn't mind it one bit. But when it comes to gun laws the left doesn't like, where conservatives do exactly what the left does, all of a sudden it's wrong. It's bad. So this is a bad law because it allows people to follow the Constitution. And you know what? I've said this time and time again. Shall not be infringed. 4 very simple words. I do, and the Constitution is there. The words are there. There's no trick reading to it. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, Miss Hobart, as far as I'm concerned, Kentucky is actually following the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. All right? Oh, McDaddy, there's already times where you have to parts of this country you have to fight to survive in. I would not, you could not pay me to live in parts of New York. You could not pay me to live in parts of Los Angeles or San Francisco because it is a daily fight to survive there. And I'm talking not a fight to get groceries or a fight. I'm talking about it's a fight just to be able to be, to live without, because you're being accosted on the streets. They keep trying to do hate speech laws, and the problem is the Supreme Court in a 9-0 ruling has come down and said there's no such thing as hate speech. So the way they get around that is by asking social media websites, social media to, their terms of service, because you don't have a constitutional right to be on social media. So there is no. It's like driving a car, right? You still have other ways to travel without driving a car. So they have the right to require you to get a driver's license. Driving a car on anything but private property is a privilege. So getting a license, the state mandate licensing there is right. Flying in an aircraft is a privilege. That's why no-fly lists by the federal government are legal, because you don't have a constitutional right to fly. The only thing you have the constitutional right to do is to walk You don't even have constitutional right to ride a horse on public property. So they can't stop you from walking somewhere. And that now the left can get awful nitpicky about the exact wording when they want to. Well, now broadcast radio, uh, you don't have the right to broadcast radio because that uses the public airwaves. It's, you can listen to ham radio all you want, but unless you have a ham radio license, you push that button and that's a $10,000 fine. Because radio frequencies are assigned by the federal government because there are only so many of them. Yeah, I'm quite familiar. I'm not. I have a more than passing knowledge of radio and television and frequency laws, being as I used to work as a first class engineer in a television station. So yeah, there's things out there. Okay, that was before you could buy your first class license. So because in a way, it's good that it's gotten easier to get your licensing to be an engineer because it's gotten an easier job to do with com- computerization being so much more a part of it the way it was back in the 70s when I was doing it. All right. Now takes over in England, but I can see this happening in some of the colleges here in the United States. This next story. Ah, okay. So yeah, Mac Daddy. All right, that's great. I never had a ham license. I don't even know how hard it is to get a ham license. So then you understand the reasoning behind the licensing on it. Okay, that's good. Bible colleges Bible college fires theologian for tweet against homosexuality, threatens to report as terrorist. A Methodist Bible college in the UK fired a Christian theologian and threatened to report him as a terrorist because of his tweets in opposition to homosexuality. Dr. Aaron Edwards, who taught theology at Cliff College in Derbyshire, England, was dismissed from the school after being accused of bringing the college into disrepute on social media last month. Homosexuality is invading the church, Edwards tweeted on February 19th. Evangelicals no longer see the severity of this because they're busy apologizing for their apparent barbaric homophobia, whether or not it's true. This is a gospel issue, by the way. If sin is no longer a sin, we no longer need a savior. And personally, I believe I agree with the gentleman. If there is no such thing as a sin, then why do we need a savior? For those of us who believe. Edwards' tweet went viral and prompted blowback, to which Edwards responded, "That is the conservative view. The acceptance of homosexuality as not sinful is an invasion upon the church doctrinally. This is not controversial." Yes, it is. Many of the modern churches in the world But in the UK and in the United States, they've uh, they even wear the rainbow flag on their vestments. The acceptance is controversial. Most of the global church would agree it's not homophobic to declare homosexuality sinful. Like I said, there are many churches now who are believing the exact opposite. I'll have to look into that, Mac Daddy, about the ham license and see what it takes to get a ham license. Have to look into that one day. I'll put that on my to be researched list because I've got a list of things that I keep adding and taking away from depending at things I'm trying to research. Like there's a lot of controversy going on about Florida bill that I finally had a chance to dig up, and I'm going to start reading and doing some research on. But anyway, there's people of the Methodist Church. Edwards' tweets reportedly caused distress among members of the Methodist Church in Britain. One senior staff member saying they would be extremely damaging and impact the college's core work and business plan, according to Edwards' legal counsel at the London-based Christian Legal Center. He was suspended pending an investigation. The college revealed that it was referring to prevent. All right. Let's see. Edwards was reportedly asked during the hearing what he would do if he were asked to play with a student about their same-sex attraction, which he believes was an attempt to entrap him into affirming conversion therapy, which the UK Parliament has debated criminalizing. Yeah. The left you see how even the left has taken over the churches, or some churches here. So this guy is a bad preacher. But no, I don't have any equipment. Again, I have to research that and see what's there, because I've heard that, but I I think some of that may be old school laws and not modernized. I don't know exactly what's going on with them anymore, because I haven't looked into ham license stuff in at least 10 years. And my God, the FCC laws and everything that have changed over the past 10 years is numerous. Uh, and that's just over the past 10 years, let alone the since the 1980s was the last time I even thought about it. So it's been 40 years since I've looked into any broadcasting laws of any kind. I don't even want to know well, I do want to know, but I couldn't even make a reasonable guess as to what changes have happened. So we do have the bad churches now. We got bad Christians who believe that homosexuality is a sin. And just expressing that is enough to get you kicked out of your church. So, and two more bad things. and then I'm done for the day. Two more bad things. And this one here is something Australians. This is happening down in Australia. Icing EVs can net up to a $3,200 fine. Now, I'm sitting there going, icing? What the hell is that? I couldn't figure out what it was. I mean, just look at it. ICE, internal combustion engine. The current public EV charging infrastructure is scarce enough without having internal combustion engine ICE cars taking up charging spots. While there may have been some confusion when public car charging first hit the scene, there really isn't much of an excuse for parking an ICE car in an EV charging spot anymore. Which is why, according to ABC News, this is Australian Broadcasting News, in certain parts of Australia, you can actually be fined up to $3,200 for doing so. 4 of Australia's states and territories, Australia Capital Territory, Victoria, New South Wales, and Queensland, have introduced fines for parking an ICE car in an EV parking spot. The fines range from the lowest of Victoria to $369 to the highest in the Australia Capital Territory at $3,200 for what is now called icing. The fines are doled out in penalty units, which are standardized amounts of money used to calculate fine costs, and their values are different based upon the state or territory. For instance, in Victoria, the current penalty value unit is $184.92. So if someone's charged 10 penalty units, they would have to pay a fine of $1,849.20. Wow. If these fines seem a bit steep for simply parking in the wrong spot, Australian Electric Vehicle Association National President Chris Jones said they're necessary to educate the public. You're not educating the public, you're punishing, extreme punishment of the public. There needs to be acknowledgement there are places you can park and places you can't. And right in front of an EV charger is one you can't. The reason for Australia's emphasis on this issue is the scarcity of public chargers relative to EV customers. According to the EV Council policy head Jake Whitehead, there are around 80,000 EVs in Australia, and open chargers are hard to come by. So by parking mistake, by combustion car owner might seem trivial to them, but isn't trivial to an EV owner in desperate need of a charge. Wow. And so the charge can go from so who decides? Australians. Who decides how many penalty units they're given out? I mean, if you live in New South Wales, or let's say you live in Australia Capital Territory, all right, and you do a parking violation in Victoria, that are you fined the $369 or are you fined the $3,200 because of where you live instead of where you committed the heinous crime the heinous crime of parking your vehicle in an EV spot. So yeah, I mean that's something just I saw that article this morning and I just had to bring that up because I just don't understand this penalty unit. So I'm going. That's something else I'm going to have to put on my list to research is how these penalty units work. I mean, taking $180 crime fine and pumping it up to $1,890. Wow, that's amazing. But that is absolutely not worse than this next one. This next one is out of Los Angeles. Yeah, well, it's out of the LA Times. I got a question for y'all. Y'all buy something. You go to a store. I don't care. Grocery store, department store, gas station, electronics store, big box store, mom and pop store, whatever. You go in and purchase their product. You purchase their product. And it could be anything from a 6-pack of soda to a loaf of bread to a Wagyu steak. And you take it home with you. And you put it in your refrigerator. And all of a sudden, the state declares that there is a shortage of that item. Should the state be able to come in and take that item out of your refrigerator, out of your freezer, out of your cupboard, out of your garage, and give it to someone else? Or worse yet, sell it to someone else. But you don't get anything for what you don't get your money back. You don't get your cash back. You paid for something, you brought it home, you put it in your refrigerator, your freezer, wherever you stored that particular item at, and the state takes it away from you. Just willy nilly walks in, takes it away from you, end of conversation. The idea of vehicle to grid transfer of electricity as a way to prevent or shorten blackouts have been around for some time now. While this may sound like a good idea, in practice, there are too many obstacles to make this happen. Okay. This guy talks about he's been driving electric vehicles for more than 10 years. I consider the electricity stored in my car's battery the same way I think of gas in my other car's tank. And like that gas in my tank, I paid for that electricity. It's mine. I don't want to get in my car and find out that Southern California Edison had to drain my battery so they could power my neighbor's TV. I've never been asked by the Chevron station on the corner to bring back the gas in my tank so they could sell it to someone else because they didn't get a tanker delivery. The answer to any future electricity shortfall is not to install expensive switching equipment with an electric car vehicle. The true solution is investment in renewables. What they're talking about doing, that's amazing that they're even talking about confiscating the electricity out of car batteries. Like the guy says, it keeps his car charged at 80% or better in case he has a family emergency. So his car is ready to go at a moment's notice. Which is why I've always kept my gas tank at least a half a tank, usually 3/4, in case I've got to go somewhere in a hurry. But where in all this holy does California get the idea that they can just walk in and take the electricity out of somebody's car? That's just beyond stupidity. But here's the article from the Los Angeles Times. There's an existing and growing fleet of battery storage that's virtually untapped. Roughly 1 million electrical vehicles already on the road in California. When plugged in at homes, offices, and charging stations with the right equipment, many could become mini power plants available to quickly feed electricity stored in their batteries to the grid when demand peaks and it's needed to prevent blackouts, and also to power homes when utilities shut off electricity to prevent wildfires. This could be incredibly helpful as California confronts extreme weather and increased power demand from the electrification of our economy. If I were to own an EV, that damn thing there would be a way that I would have that thing, as soon as I got up to like that 80%, 90% mark, I'd be unplugging it. There'd be no way I'd leave that thing plugged in any longer than I absolutely needed to. But there's actually an idea out there pushing to drain car batteries of EVs. That's just outrageous. What is there nothing the state doesn't consider? I mean, there already have unbelievably there are laws out there in some states that you cannot have rain collection barrels on your property. That the rain belongs to the state. All right. You can't build a pond on your property without the state's permission because the water that would collect in that pond belongs to the state. It's outrageous that the states get away with these kind of laws. And then to think that they can come into your home, which is what they're doing here, is talk about coming into your home and taking stuff out of your refrigerator, out of your cupboards, out of your freezer, and giving them to someone else. Hey, afternoon, Fury. Just because they they need it, they want it. They want to prevent a blackout. They want to prevent, if they're going to do this to prevent a blackout, hey, we need to prevent a food shortage. So we're going to come in and take the food out of your house. And we're going to redistribute it to other people. Oh, you got 6 months worth of food supplies stocked up in canned goods or dried goods or whatever. Thank you for stocking up for us. We'll really appreciate it. Here, oh, you got 50 pounds of rice here. You can have 5 pounds of it for yourself. We're taking the rest. This is, it's unbelievable. During hurricane season, which we're quickly coming up on here. The wife and I, we store about 30 gallons of water. 20 gallons of that is for washing. They're in 1 gallon jugs, for taking what my dad used to call the whore bath, which we more politely call a sink bath now. You know, face, pits, and crotch. And I've heard other people call it the 5-point wash. Uh, then, drinking water and food preparation water. If a hurricane were to come and the state would want to decide they want to come in and take my food to give to my neighbors or to give to somebody else, they'd have a rather difficult time doing it. Official tithe barns. Fury, that's a new term to me. What is an official tithe barn? Yeah, official tithe barns. Best historic tithe barns visited in England. Okay, a tithe barn was a type of barn used in much of Northern Europe in the Middle Ages for storing rents and tithes. Farmers were required to give 1/10 their produce to the established church. Tithe barns were usually associated with the village church or rectory, and independent farmers took their tithes there. Okay. All right. Something new. A cat lick wash. Yeah, I want more than just a cat lick wash there, Fury. But yeah, same thing. I mean, during hurricanes, and tropical storms, you have power outages, and you need to be able to have food available. And you got no water until, even though until you get electricity back. There's a the state would have a difficult time coming and taking my food involuntarily from me because, I prepared for, and I usually try to keep a month's worth of food, around 60 meals or so, available for the wife and I during hurricane season. And it's really not that many, it's not that hard to do to have 60 meals worth of food available. Uh, oh, cool. You weren't even good enough to be a peasant or taxed, huh? Nice. Well, I've got a feeling I know where my surname came from, but I'm not going to get into that because it would give it away. But anyhow, all right, ladies and gents. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of different grounds here, but a lot of bad people and bad laws and bad things, all depending on, you know, basically if you're left, it's, you're bad according to the left. If the left can do the exact same thing and it's good, but anybody else doing it and it's bad. So, but I want to thank everybody for coming out. Like I said, and let me repeat myself from the top of the stream. If the expected indictment of Trump comes down, which I have not seen anything of it coming down here yet, but if the expected indictment comes out, let it come out. Stay at home. Don't go out making fools of yourself. Don't go doing stuff that is going to uh, be able to be used by the communists in the media to distort and refuse to say what you go. Oh, what is this? House Admin Chair uh, Brian Steele, Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, House Oversight James Comer sent a letter to Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg demanding communications, documents, and testimony relating to Bragg's unprecedented abuse of prosecutorial authority. Oh, and that's something. Let's see here. Open image, a new tab. Let's take a quick look at this and see what's going on. And okay, so let's share this here real quick. This is interesting. All right. This is from Congress. It's on official letterhead. Mr. Bragg, you're reportedly about to engage in the unprecedented abuse of prosecutorial authority, the indictment of former President Trump and current declared candidate for that office. This indictment comes years after your office searching for any basis on which to bring charges, ultimately settling on a novel legal theory untested anywhere in the country and one federal authorities declined to pursue. If these reports are accurate, your actions will erode confidence in the even-handed application of justice and then ultimately interfere with the course of the 2024 presidential election. In light of the serious consequences of your actions, we expect you will testify on what plainly appears to be a politically motivated prosecutorial decision. The New York County District Attorney's Office began investigating President Trump since at least 2018, looking for some legal theory on which to bring charges. Okay. The facts surrounding the impending indictment have been known for years. Michael Cohen, President Trump's disgraced former lawyer, pled guilty over 4 years ago to charges based on the same facts at issue at the impending indictment. By 2019, however, federal prosecutors determined that no additional people would be charged alongside Cohen. Now, in the words of one legal scholar, you are attempting to shoehorn the same identical facts into a new prosecution, resurrecting a so-called zombie case against President Trump. Even the Washington Post quoted legal experts as calling your actions unusual because prosecutors have repeatedly examined long established details but decide not to pursue charges. Okay. The legal theory underlying your reported prosecution appears to be tenuous and untested. Bringing charges for falsifying business records is ordinarily a misdemeanor subject to a 2-year statute of limitations, which would have expired long ago. State law, however, allows district attorney to elevate nominal misdemeanor conduct to a felony charge if the intent to defraud includes an intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. Such a showing would extend the statute of limitations to 5 years, which would likely expire soon and thus explain your rush to indictment. The only potential speculated crime would be challenged that could be alleged here would be a violation of campaign finance law, according to one scholar, a charge the Justice Department has already declined to bring. In addition to the novel and untested legal theory, your star witness for the prosecution has a serious credibility problem, a problem you have reportedly recognized. This case relies heavily on the testimony of Michael Cohen, a convicted perjurer with demonstrable prejudice against President Trump. Cohen pled guilty to lying to Congress in 2018. In 2019, he testified before the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee to aid their fruitless investigation of President Trump. Cohen lied again 6 times. Cohen has been vocal about his deep personal animus towards President Trump. Under these circumstances, there's no scenario in which Cohen could fairly be considered an unbiased and credible witness. That's true. The inference from the totality of these facts is your impending indictment is motivated by political calculations. Again, that's true. In January 2022, soon after you took office, you expressed doubts about President Trump's case and suspended the investigation. The decision caused 2 of your top investigators, Carrie Dunn and Mark Pomerantz, to resign in protest and publicly denounce your work. Pomerantz, in particular, heavily criticized you for declining to bring charges at the time, and Dunn and others are now weighing ways to bar President Trump from holding future office. Pomerantz has published a book in the past month. Okay, get to the next page. Come on. Exonerating you for not aggressively prosecuting Trump. The Washington Post reports you were deeply stung by his criticism. The facts of this matter have not changed since 2018 and no new witnesses have emerged. The Justice Department examined the facts in 2019 and opted not to pursue further prosecutions. Even so, according to the reporting, the investigation gained some momentum this year, and your office convened a new grand jury in January to evaluate the issue. The only intervening factor appears was President Trump's announcement that he would be a candidate in 2024. Your decision to pursue such a politically motivated prosecution while adopting progressive criminal justice policies that allow career criminals to run the streets of Manhattan requires congressional scrutiny about how public safety funds appropriated by Congress are being implemented by local law enforcement agencies. Getting to the purse strings. In addition, your apparent decision to pursue criminal charges where federal authorities decline to do so requires oversight to inform potential legislative reforms about the delineation of prosecutorial authority between federal and local officials. Finally, because of the circumstances of this matter stem in part from Special Counselor Mueller's investigation, Congress may consider legislative reforms to the authorities of special counsels and their relationships with other prosecuting entities. According to advance our oversight, please produce the following documents and information for the period January 1st, 2017 to the present. All documents and communications between or among New York District Attorney's offices and U.S. Department of Justice, its component entities, or other federal law enforcement agencies referring or relating to your office's investigation of President Donald Trump. All documents and communications sent or received by former employees Carrie Dunn and Mark Pomerantz referring to or relating to President Donald Trump. All documents and communications referring or relating to the New York County District Attorney's Office receipts and use of federal funds. Get in that purse string, threaten that money. In addition, your testimony is necessary to advance our oversight and to inform potential legislative reforms. We therefore ask that you testify in a transcribed interview about these matters as soon as possible. Please provide this information and contact the committee staff to schedule your transcribed interview as soon as possible, but not later than 10 a.m. on March 23rd. Wow. Giving them 3 days. That's not any time at all. Just giving him 3 days to get to appear before Congress. Pursuant to Rule 10 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, the Committee on the Judiciary has jurisdiction over criminal justice matters in the United States. The Committee on the House Administration has jurisdiction over matters concerning federal elections. The Committee on Oversight and Accountability may examine any matter at any time. Who all signed this? Jordan, Steele, and Comer. Obviously, Nadler, Morale, and Raskin all refused to sign. Oh, they got CC'd on it. Okay. They just got a CC on it. So they can't claim they weren't told. Got to have a transcribed interview, but no later than 10 a.m. on March 23rd. Yeah, so he's got less than 3 days at this point to have his act in, be in Washington, D.C. for this. Yeah. I don't like it when the government threatens the purse strings. But this is what happens when local jurisdictions, local governments rely on the federal government to fund them. Your local government should be funded by your local people. You should not be relying on the federal government to come in and give you the money to operate your state, to operate your county, to operate your city. All right. Effectively, asking New York to pay for Florida or Florida to pay for Wyoming or any combination of states to pay for California. If California wants to do something stupid with their money, let their taxpayers support it out of their pockets, not come running to the federal government looking for money that came out of my pocket here. So anyway, yeah, Fury, maybe and y'all, I haven't made a secret. I totally agree. I think this whole indictment thing of Trump is politically motivated. They had a much sturdier case against Hillary Clinton. And remember the lock her up chance during the run up to the 2016 election. She should have been prosecuted for her criminal security lapses. She should have been prosecuted for those. She should have been criminally prosecuted for what happened in Benghazi and the lies that she told while under oath. She should have been criminally prosecuted for that. But she wasn't. So, two wrongs don't make a right. But everybody needs to be subject to the same laws and the same treatment under the law. Okay? And it's now a little bit past 11. I've got some errands I need to run. I want to wish everybody have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you for coming out and listening to me rant and rave and cuss and discuss. I appreciate you. Y'all have a good day. I'll be back tomorrow. Wednesday morning is iffy at this point. I don't know. There's something that could possibly pop up where I won't be able to stream Wednesday morning. But Thursday and Friday are back on the clock. So we'll take a look at that and see what happens day by day. But everybody have a good one. Enjoy yourselves. Be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. All right? Have a good one now.